Are we ready? Here's the stack. Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name's Teresa. I'm a registered dietitian, and my channel is about all kinds of things, more than just being a dietitian. It's mostly my life, my health, some beauty mixed in. Today, it's about books, and books that specifically have kind of opened my eyes and had the biggest impact on my health journey. You know, my channel is kind of all over the place. I'm also a self-taught artist and an author, and so I have another channel that I do story time, but I'm trying to figure out how to mesh the two together. But anyway, back to what this video is about today. As I mentioned, I am a dietitian. I'm 53 years old, and I'm on my own health journey of sorts. Over the last year, I've lost probably 50 pounds or so. And if I remember, I will link in the video, like the initial video where I talk about my initial weight loss and kind of how I got to where I am today. But part of that is I'm constantly reading, I'm constantly learning, and I encourage you to do the same. And in fact, I would love to hear comments from people if they have run across books, resources that have really opened their eyes and had a big impact on them. Because that's what these books are today. They're not necessarily new books, but they really, by far, have had the biggest impact on me. You know, as a dietitian, we have to do continuing education, and some of these got continuing education credit. I had to read it and take a test on it, but I think it's so important for anybody, but dietitians included, to keep their brains open and constantly learning. I mean, things can change. We can learn new things. And I feel like the profession sometimes is just so stuck in a rut of what we learned back in school. And honestly, you know, we learn as science evolves, research evolves, and just from personal experience. If you've watched any of my channel, I'm all about personal experience, what works for people, what doesn't work for people. At some point, I want to branch off and do some group kind of forums where people can share their successes, etc. But I digress, as I usually do. So let's talk about my books. First one is by Linus, who's a 2-time Nobel Peace Prize winner for his work on vitamins, specifically vitamin C. The book is How to Live Longer and Feel Better, pretty basic. What I loved about this is if you're looking to up your vitamin game, this is kind of the rationale for why. You know, interestingly, the RDA, sorry, I'll probably hold it up here so you can, I'll list the books in the description box, but I'll quit waving them around. The RDAs are really set to prevent a deficiency of that vitamin or mineral. It's not necessarily set for someone to have optimal health. And that's what this book is about. It's looking at levels of vitamins that you can take for optimal health, and some really good research and things as to why. I feel like a lot of health professionals like to poo-poo the whole vitamin thing, but I don't know why. I think there's real value in optimizing your vitamin and minerals. So this was probably one of the first ones that really opened my eyes. And as a result, I did end up supplementing, particularly vitamin C and vitamin D. So book number 1. Book number 2 is The Big Fat Surprise by Teicholz. And she is a journalist, but this book really groundbreaking as far as the research and really for me as a dietitian, the history of nutrition recommendations in this country and how they evolved and how they're so political and sometimes messed up like a lot of other things in this country. And so, you know, I think a lot has shifted in terms of not being afraid of fat anymore and all of that. But I really credit her book, along with some of Gary Taub's work, with kind of pioneering that a bit and bringing it to the forefront. This is a really big read, and it can be pretty in-depth and scientific, but very eye-opening. And obviously, big message from this is that dietary fat has not been the culprit here, but really interesting how we got to the place that we're at. So very interesting, probably controversial, especially as a dietitian speaking about this, but I found it fascinating. Next is The Obesity Code by Dr. Jason Fung, and he has other books out, tons of YouTube videos out. I consider him kind of really the forefront of fasting specifically around insulin resistance and diabetes control. And I think because of his work, and he's done a lot of videos on intermittent fasting and how to use it in different scenarios and strategies, but it can be really, really effective to help with insulin resistance, which is really the driver of weight and weight management. And so understanding that is key. And so I credit this, I mean, this is the one book I have that I read, but I know he has a couple others, but I guess it's more him, and I read this book, and his work that really, I feel like, brought it to the forefront, at least for me. Step number 3 is this book, Brain Over Binge. I heard about this book from someone on Instagram, Little Bit of Fit. Because in my line of work, obviously, I work with people that have issues with eating disorders, although a lot of times we refer them out to people who specialize with eating disorders. However, this book offers a fresh approach, a whole different approach to eating disorders, much like there's some different approaches to other types of addictive type of personalities and disorders. And I think it's good to open your eyes to different suggestions and ideas. And this really kind of runs counter to traditional ways of treating those types of disorders. So much that I recommended it to a client of mine who has a binge eating disorder. And she told me this was like a light bulb moment for her. So that was very encouraging to me. Anything that would help somebody, I'm game for. And just if it offers a fresh perspective and helps you cope, by all means. So, you know, why not? If you know of somebody that has that type of disorder, this might be something that is worthwhile. So Brain Over Binge by Kathryn Hansen. This next one is much older. I found it at a thrift book sale, like I find a lot of my books, but I thought this was so interesting. It's called Less Medicine, More Health. It is written by Dr. Gilbert Welch, and I know he has other books as well. I can't remember, I think I may have read another one, but this is the one that really caught my attention. It's the whole concept of quality medicine over quantity. Think of it that way. And kind of questioning some of the whole concept of preventive medicine, kind of going in and looking for a problem. He gives so many interesting case studies where, you know, somebody goes in for some type of prevention or some type of scan. They find something questionable, they operate, the person gets put on a medication, they have side effects, they have long-term, you know, blah, 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 cycle. And I know that's a one-off situation I'm giving. He obviously talks about this much more eloquently than I just did, but really opened my eyes to, you know, giving good thought to the quality of your care and maybe not necessarily running out and getting every preventive thing known to man. And I know that is so controversial, especially for my area. So I say that with great caution, but if you want to understand more of what I'm saying, read this book. It's really, really interesting. And I'm not anti-doctor. I'm not. In fact, I think the United States has the greatest, obviously, medical care in the world, especially emergency medicine. But I do think that the whole world of preventive medicine has become more of a moneymaker than it has offered true value. And sometimes it can offer more issues in the long run by finding things that maybe wouldn't have been an issue to begin with. So anyway, really enjoyed that book. Lastly is one I just read for some continuing education. It is not necessarily a health book, but the principles can apply to health in wonderful ways, and that is Atomic Habits. This is probably more well known. I think this is so important in terms of setting goals and how you go about setting goals. I talk about goal setting all the time with my clients. And I think the thing I like about this book so well is just how well it's written, the examples he gives, and breaking it down, and kind of like, there's so many truth bombs and mic drop moments in this book. I just loved it. It's so real. You know, it's so easy to just say, oh, my goal is to lose weight, but you know, okay, well, how are you going to do that? And even if you set a goal, you got to look at your environment, and what he refers to are the systems that you have in place, and you have to make it easy. Like, to rely on motivation and willpower is not a winning formula. So that's what this book is about. I wasn't sure I wanted to read it, but I heard so many great things. And then of course it offered a continuing education credit test. So I read it and I really, really enjoyed it. And so mentioning it here because I think it is so, it really helps you set yourself up for success. And the fact that little teeny changes really do matter because they compound over time. And so you may not see it today, but when you do those things over time, they compound, and that's where, you know, the magic happens. So highly recommend this book. So that's it. Those are my 6 books right now that have really changed how I view healthcare, and in particular, my health. So would love to hear from you if there's any book out there that has really opened your eyes and had a dramatic impact on your health as well. If so, please include it in the comments below. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and please consider subscribing. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.